of this series, Raise Them Up, looking at our responsibility as parents to raise our children in the instruction and discipline of the Lord. And I think for these next few weeks, we're going to kind of dial in and look at a certain section, a certain phase of parenting. So we're going to be looking at kind of young kids, young childhood phase of parenting. And so we're going to turn to some classic theologians, Calvin and Hobbes, to get some insight here. So we have Calvin doing his thing as a boy, whap, 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 putting some nails in something. Along comes Mom with her great parenting advice. She goes, "Calvin, what are you doing to the coffee table?" Now Calvin insightly ponders this and wonders the depth of this questioning and responds, "Is this some sort of trick question or what? I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm putting nails into the coffee table. It makes perfect sense in his world, right?" Doesn't make any sense to the parent, but she didn't ask that. I know what I'm doing. Why would you ask that? Is it obvious? When we look at raising little kids, it is a fun time and it's a dynamic time. I understand why God made it so that young people raise little kids, because it takes a lot of energy. I had to dust off my old picture here of our years. We're kind of entrenched in the teen years now, but several years ago we were in the midst of having all the little ones and raising them up at that phase of life. And man, it was intense. It had a lot of things. And that's one of the dynamics of that age group, is that it is a lot of intensive work. I mean, you're always caring for somebody. Somebody's going somewhere, clean up a lot of messes, and it takes a lot of energy, and you never know kind of what's going to be going on. It's also a lot of fun to do that. But as we look at this, we're going to be asking, okay, how do we do this? Because we've already established that God has given us this responsibility to us as parents. In fact, it's one of the most important responsibilities that you're ever going to have in all of your life. You might do some important things. You might be part of an important job, but there is nothing that can compare to shaping a life. Because it's not just about those years. It is about all of their years. It is about their children's children as things go along. And so we need to take this responsibility seriously. Now, this sermon isn't going to cover everything that we could cover here. It's going to kind of lay out a little bit of a framework for this, and we're going to have the follow-up classes that kind of can dig down into it and go a little bit deeper. But let's do a little bit of review. Remember back a few sermons ago, we looked at the cult of childhood and asked the question, what is the goal of parenting? You know, so here I am, Eileen and I were wrangled with these four. They're four very completely different. What was the goal of those? You know, you got three boys, a girl. You got the oldest. He, of course, is standing on the edge of the thing, being the daredevil. He had great balance at that time. And Mom's probably in the window going, "Oh dear." Dad's taking a picture like, "Hey, that's cool," right? You know, what in that moment, now that was years ago for me, but in that moment to go, all right, well, what's the goal here? What am I aiming for? We worked through this before, but just to do a real quick recap, we could go, one, they need to be clean. This is actually an Easter Sunday picture, family picture. We came home from church and it had rained and they went out. I said, that's the goal. Go get in the mud. So do we raise kids to be successful? Well, of course we do. We want them to be successful, but is that the goal of it? I don't know. I don't think it's just to be successful in life. We might go, well, they're supposed to be well behaved. That's really my target for parenting. You know, I want to make sure that they're decent kids and they behave well and they don't do anything bad. Oh, that sounds right, but I don't know. How about happy? My goal is to make my kids happy. And really everything that I do is really to orient them in the direction of being happy, especially during that special childhood time. No, How about religious? Of course, we're in church. This is the right answer, right? We're supposed to make our kids religious. You know, we bring them to church, we make them do this, we make them do that, we teach them things, and if we could just kind of get them religious, we've done it. No? Or we could go with our culture's answer and go, hey, whatever they want, you know? We've been told as parents, keep your hands off. Really, it's really about giving them whatever they want, to become whatever they want. There are no limits. There's no direction at all. All those things have their place. All of them have a certain amount of value. But if we were, as Christians, to say this is the goal of parenting, we would be wrong. Because all of these, if you accomplish every single one and your kids do not know God, it's worthless. Now, we can't make that choice for them. We can't force God on them. But the goal of our parenting is not only to raise, we all want successful, well-behaved, happy people, kids with faith type of things. We want these things. But the target is to go, how do we lead our children to a place where as adults they can choose and walk with God as well as pursue these things. And so that's really what we're trying to look at in this phase of going, okay, well, how does that happen at an early age? What is involved there? Proverbs 22:6 says, start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. It's a classic, kind of a favorite type of a passage. Now, it's been used a little bit incorrectly. It's been kind of rolled out as going, this is God's promise. That's not exactly true. That's not the way the Proverbs work. And so we have to be careful of that, sometimes making the Bible say things that it really isn't trying to say in that sense. It is a general observation of going, this is an important time in their life, in their development as children. Parents, you better invest because this is going to set a course for them for the rest of their life. It is not a guarantee that if you would raise your kids in church that they are going to be church going or that they're going to have faith. That's not this promise. God can't promise that because there is a choice to be made as kids become adults, and they can choose wrong. This isn't saying that that doesn't happen, but they're recognizing that this is an incredibly special time of going, this is the time to invest. This is the time to set a course. They may wander from it. They may rebel against it, but they often will come back to the ways that they have been shown and been proven before them. And so we go before that and we go, well, then what's the way that we should start our kids off? We can kind of think of that in three ways. We might think of our kids as kind of a project. We got the raw data, we got the raw materials, and all it is that we're putting them together, we're assembling in our way. Like if we were building a ship, right? We got the lumber, we've got the canvas, we got the ropes, and we're putting this all together, and we're going to set them sail. But it's really, we're working from a kit, but we're putting them together piece by piece. And we're putting them together the way we want to. But, that's not quite what it is. We might go, well, starting them off on the way is about getting the right data into them, making sure that we teach them the right thing and getting them all the right concepts as though they are like a robot. And if I could program all the right information into them, that's what they're going to spit out exactly what I have given them. It's very much in line with kind of that classic understanding of this verse. If I would do A, B, and C, they're going to do A, B, and C. No, kids are not robots. In fact, you know what the first kids did in the Bible? You know who the first kids are? It's not Cain and Abel. It's Adam and Eve. They're the first kids. God had some kids. He made them out of the dirt. What did they do? They chose wrong. He gave them a perfect situation, everything that they could want, and they still chose not to trust God. So this is not about going, look, if you do everything right, your kids will definitely turn out this way. They are not robots. They are human beings, and there is an amount of unpredictability. Unpredictability in this process. While we want to give good data, we're going to have this apologetics class. We want to make sure we give them good concepts. We want to help them to defend the right way. It is not enough to just say, if I give you the right information, you will turn out right. That's not how humans work. Maybe you think of it in terms of like kids are like a garden, right? It really is, they have all the right stuff. I'm not building them. All I got to do is plant them and nurture them and really basically protect them from everything else. And so we put up this raised boxes. We don't go out in the wild and just plant a garden. We put them in a raised box, and there's a nice fence around them so the deer don't come. And I come along and I pull out the weeds that might choke out their life, right? They have everything good, and all the problems are really from outside of them. And if I could just protect them well enough, they'll do okay, like a garden. Well, each of these have their place in one sense, but they fall short of really this start children off the way they should go. They all fall short because none of them really capture the essence of what this process is. We are dealing with a human life, and the essence of that is that we must guard their hearts. We must shape their hearts. It's not just about the environment. It's not just about information. It's not about just building from raw material. It is about their heart as parents. And so this today's sermon is built off of this book called Shepherding a Child's Heart. Not making them obey, making sure they do everything right, not making sure that they look right, not making sure that they are successful in every way, but how do we shepherd a child's heart? The Bible affirms this over and over again, that the heart is what matters the most. So Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, get that clarifier, if you get everything else wrong, get this part right. Ditch the shoes. I don't care if their shorts are a little bit messy. Get this right. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So do you get that, parents? There's a lot of demands on you at this stage. Making sure they're okay, making sure they're fed, making sure they're clothed, and things are cleaned, and you're going behind them. There's a lot that requires your time and attention. But Scripture is going, are you paying attention to their heart? Because everything else right now and into the future is going to flow out of that. And I'm calling you to shepherd them. Jesus even bounces off this, probably uses this as source material. He says in Luke 6:45, the good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. The evil man brings up the evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. We look at behaviors and we look at words, but it's the heart that everything flows out of. It's so easy in this stage, in this phase, to kind of control the outside because you're big, you're strong, you're smarter than they are. You want to just kind of control, and it's easy and it's convenient, and I get it. I was right there in that moment too. You're trying to survive day to day, try to keep up with it all. But the Bible is saying, parents, are you paying attention to the heart? Because at the end of the day, their destiny is going to flow out of who they have become. That's what we're talking about here today. There's going to be a lot of pieces that go into all this. Obviously, we're looking at just kind of a couple core things, but it is about setting the priority as parents of saying, I want to shepherd my child's heart. I want to bring them along. They're not just a project. They're not a robot. They're not just something to be protected. They are to be brought along and watched over. This is a human endeavor, and it's going to be kind of tricky, as we can see. And so when we do this, to shepherd their heart means first and foremost really to expose the struggles, the heart of the struggles. So I probably should have done a better phrase there. So what we're talking about is, okay, so in the average day of the life, right? Ben is playing, Katie comes over and takes Ben's toy, and Ben responds with a loving hug and kiss. No, he swats his sister, right? Right? That's what kids do. They react. That's how they go about it. It makes perfect sense to them. And we could come storming in like Calvin's mom and going, "What did you do?" He's going to go, "Was that a trick question? I just swatted my sister. She took my stuff," right? Or, "Why did you do what you did?" And kids will astutely go, "I don't know," right? They're not thinking that deeply. They're just in a reactive mode. They haven't developed all those kind of introspection and reflection on this. It's just something happened, and so I did something, right? And if we get stuck into that mode of just going, "Hey, what happened? Why did it happen?" Or better yet, you want to run this down, because I like to use this shortcut: knock it off. Don't do that. Or my personal favorite: where's your mother? Go see her. Go bother her with this, right? It's a hassle. It's just something I'm trying to deal with in the moment. And what that does is it shrinks up our parenting to just this surface level at that time, rather than penetrating and going, what is the heart of the matter? What is my child struggling with in this moment? It's not a big cosmic thing. It's just at a kid level, and you're recognizing that, and you're going, how do I, as a parent, shepherd my child's heart in this moment? That's kind of tough to do, I admit it. And I'm not up here in front of you because, wow, I did it all right. There was that one day I got it wrong. A lot of days I got it wrong. Or I took the shortcut, right? Because it's easy to take the shortcut. And some days are about that, of just kind of going, we're trying to make it through. Look, I'm not trying to solve the cosmic spiritual issues of my child every single moment, right? You're just trying to make it through. But if there's never a moment that we get past the surface level, we're not shepherding. We're just managing. He calls us to do something more. When we take on struggles like that and kind of process them, I'm going to show you that here in a minute or two. The second reason why we want to shepherd their heart is that we want to make our kids understand that they were made for a relationship. And this is a really important category, because what you can do is you can get into the category of going, all of my expectations for my kids are about obedience and performance. And you might kind of go, well, yeah, right. I want my kids to obey. I want them to do what's right? Well, what's wrong with those categories? They're problematic when that's the only thing that they're getting. And it's am I good enough? And can I measure up? Or if that's the only value that I have to you, then you know what? That introduces the concept of rebellion, of going, I can foil that. I can go my own way. When you shepherd a heart, you engage in a process that says, this is about knowing you and you knowing me. We're doing this together. That it would be easy for me to flood into a moment and just kind of stop behavior or kind of correct behavior. And there are moments and times that, yep, you know what, you just kind of do that. But there needs to be a deeper process that says, I want to understand where you're at. I want you to understand where you are at and what you're struggling with. Because if I demonstrate that to you as you grow older and you want to step into this faith, you don't put on to God this idea of going, all he cares about is obedience and performance. Does he care about obedience? Of course he does. But is that all that you are to him? Of course you aren't. He's proven that. He said, on your worst day, I gave my life for you. So you have greater value. I want to deal with you at the heart level. I want to get down into the issues. I came to make you new and make you clean. Only he can do that. But when our kids take from us a cue of going, it's about perfection, it's only about performance, we shortchange their future spiritual relationship with God. And so this is an invitation from this book of going, hey, here's an approach to go, yeah, most parents kind of get, yeah, there's right and wrong in this, but are you dealing with the heart? So let's kind of dig down into that. So according to this book, there are 2 tools for shepherding your child's heart. Excuse me. The first is, it's the staff, right? The staff is what the shepherd uses to communicate to the sheep of going, don't go that way, kind of hooks them, saves them. It's a little bit of a soft tool for the shepherd, and communication is the primary thing we have with our children. Usually this involves just yelling and screaming, like Calvin's mom, right? But the scriptures are inviting us to this place of going, can you get past that? Can you start to have the type of communication that's deeper? Now you're going, I've got a 3-year-old. How deep can I go? Well, yeah, I get that. And this is going to scale as they get older. But it's about the category and engaging them at the appropriate level. Watch what advice Proverbs gives. It says, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters. They're way under the surface. They go down deep and they're low and they're still and it's not easily seen. That person themselves might not even know all the purposes and plans that they have and the reasons why they do what they do. But the one who has insight can draw that out, can help them to discern for yourself, but also for them. To say, what's going on in these moments? And to bring them to a new place of understanding and appreciation. In Proverbs 23, that chapter, he kind of is giving a summary of all this type of kind of discipline and advice to parents and to children. But what's ironic is, or not ironic, what's amazing is one of the last verses, as he's kind of summarizing this all up, he gives this entreaty to his child. He says, my son, give me your heart. Well, obviously he's a bad parent because it should go, give me your obedience. Give me your right attitude. Don't give me any lip. Don't give me this. Isn't that the way that we want to go about it? No, he says, give me your heart, because out of your heart flows everything. I want to understand who you are. I want your attention from the deepest part of you as I teach you and guide you. I don't want just the surface. I want to get below the surface and help you to see and delight in the way of life and faith that I'm inviting you. It's not about perfection, either as a parent or a person. You're inviting them into this place of going, I want to get to the real stuff, though, as appropriate for each level. And you show for yourself, and you go, come on, let's get to the real stuff. So how do we do that? So I gave the example of Ben swatting Katie, which never happened, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, after Dad went, knock it off, go find your mother. They went to their mother, and she shepherded from a different place, right? She went, let's ask some different questions. Not just, what did you do and why did you do it, that you get a shrug and I don't know. How about, what were you feeling when you hit your sister? Now, I'll tell you my honest response to that is, I don't care how you felt when you hit your sister. You're going to care how you feel here in just about 2 minutes, all right? We're going to fix this thing right up. Because that's easy and that's quick. I can get performance out of my kids. I can impose a structure on them because they're not going to oppose me. But I can miss the heart that way. It's not about getting all this feely schmeely stuff as much as you are inviting your child into a place to go, well, let me think about what I did and what was going on. Or ask another question. What did your sister do to make you mad? Help me to understand how hitting seemed to make things better. Isn't that a great question? I get the 3-year-old's not going to handle that one, but an 8-year-old, that's a whole different place. You're teaching your child to go to a different level, right? In what other ways could you have responded? You might change the wording here depending on the child, but it's this process of going, can we get to the heart of the matter? Not just to the behavior. We need to deal with the behavior too. Sure, of course. But see, when we use this type of communication, what we're doing is that, one, it helps us to understand them, what's going on. Maybe she did do him wrong, and it's right for him to speak up and say, hey, I'm not happy about this. That's a valuable tool in the rest of life, because guess what? There's going to be a lot of people that take stuff from you for the rest of your life. And you need to be able to say, you know what, that's wrong. And I want it to be made right. But I also want to be thoughtful about going, well, how do I go about that? But communication isn't just about us understanding them. It is about them understanding themselves. Now, we like, wow, man, you're like way overshooting this. Come on, it's 3 to 8-year-olds, 3 to 10-year-olds. But the tracks you are laying now will pay dividends in the future as teens, right? As you start to teach them the ability to kind of think through, to share, to bring up out of their heart, well, this is what's going on. I was just mad, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. Well, how did that work out for you, right? You start to create a child that engages with this, and then you take this communication another step further of going, okay, well, how does God fit into this picture? See, you could just kind of do the good thing and go, Jesus said, Luke 22:6, don't hit your sister. There. Yeah, how deep's that going to go? Oh, that makes me, by the way, Jesus never told us to not hit our sisters. Of course, that's her brother. Woohoo. We're going to have a conversation later. No, we'll see how you feel about that then. Right? You can just kind of impose that, or you bring them into this place of understanding, of recognition, and you bring faith into that moment. You're setting up steps for that child to go, my faith, my actions lead me to my faith in God, even in the tough moments. See, if it's only about obedience, perfection, I want to run away from God when I'm wrong, and I do bad, and I avoid him. But if you lead your child to go, okay, I had a tough day, I had a tough moment, let's take that to God. Let's talk about how Jesus lived this life. He understands what it is. I don't know if he had a sister who took stuff. He had brothers, so somebody probably took his stuff at some point, right? He faced these things. He has grace. Do you have grace for your sister, for your brother? You see how the conversation leads you to real spiritual talks then. At their level. It's not always going to be every day. It's not every moment. It costs a lot. I get it. Now, the other tool here is the rod. So this is the correction thing. Now, we've taken it of going, this is talking about spanking, and I'm not going to get into all that. That's fine. I got spanked. I spanked. You might not want to. That's fine. This is really about the concept of going, do you correct your child? Do you give them consequences, boundaries of going, this is wrong, and you are going to face those boundaries and the consequences. Sometimes those are imposed. You do this, this is going to happen. Sometimes correction is only simply in natural terms of going, you did that, here's what's going to happen, here's what is happening, and I'm not going to rescue you from that. You see, if we go, happiness is the goal of my parenting, I've got to run around and make sure my child is never unhappy. I rescue him from it. No, the Bible says the rod of correction is important. In fact, this is the way it puts it. It says, whoever spares the rod, this idea of correction, the idea of consequences, hates their child. I mean, that's pretty strong language. You aren't doing something good for them. You actually hate them. You are robbing them something that is very good. But the one who really, truly loves their children, they are careful to discipline them. Communication as well as correction. Our children need that. They need to understand that there is right and wrong. There are boundaries. That's where we reject the, well, whatever you want. No, that is not true. That's a lie from our culture. There are real boundaries. God has set boundaries in place for our good. This is a teaching moment. Now, of course, yes, we need to be careful of excesses, and we could go into all of that, of going, not always, not being punitive, not going overboard. That's why this has to always be mixed with communication. Communication should lead the way and just be reinforced. As time goes along, one drops off, but the communication stays and grows stronger because you've invested there. This is a line from Dr. Dobson from Focus on the Family years ago. I heard him say it, and it's just always stuck with me. He said, rules without relationship equals rebellion. I hear him saying the same thing that this book is. Rules, the rod of correction, the boundaries, they're good, they're right. But that alone, without anything else, is not enough. It's not an information problem. It's not an execution problem. The rules are right, but they need the relationship. They need the type of communication that shepherds a child's heart, that says, okay, let's get underneath the surface. It's not just about the obedience and the performance, but what's really going on. What are you wrestling with? What needs to be formed in you and shaped in you? And how do we bring God with that? It's a powerful combination when you have the rules, but that is coded in relationship. When you don't, when you just go, it's just the rules, yep, you're going to get rebellion. Because then that's just about obedience, perfection, performance. And at some point, I'll not want to be any part of it. So this is an introduction here, really, to this phase. We're going to be exploring this more in the parenting roundtables as time goes along. But I want to challenge you where you're at of going, how am I doing if I'm in that phase? Am I taking the shortcuts? Or am I stepping up to say, I'm going to shepherd my child's heart and form them, help God form them into the person that they are called to be? Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this awesome privilege of having these children and the fun and the excitement that they bring. But Lord, help us to have the courage to not just take the shortcuts, but invest deeply into them and to say, you know what? I want to help guide my child's heart. So give us wisdom. Give us courage as parents. I ask this in your name. Amen.